Chichen Itza rises from the flat limestone lands of the Yucatan Peninsula, a lasting monument to the scientific precision and spiritual vision of the Maya civilization that flourished between the 8th and the 12th century of the Common Era. At its heart stands the Pyramid of Kukulkan, or El Castillo, a temple built with remarkable astronomical alignment to the movement of the sun. In 1969, the Swiss researcher and writer Erich von Däniken visited the site, captivated by its silent geometry and the mystery it seemed to hold. His studies led him through countless archaeological records and mythic accounts describing divine beings descending from the heavens, figures that ancient chroniclers honored as gods. Among them was Kukulkan, also known as Quetzalcoatl or Cucumatz, the feathered serpent whose form united the power of sky and earth. For the Maya, this deity embodied renewal and cosmic order, linking celestial cycles to the rhythm of life on earth. Chichen Itza, in their cosmology, was not merely a city, but a sacred stage where the will of the gods shaped human destiny. Twice each year, on the equinoxes, sunlight slides along the pyramid stairway, forming a luminous serpent of shadow and light. This spectacle, preserved through centuries, remains a living echo of the ancient connection between astronomy, architecture, and faith that defined one of humanity's most extraordinary civilizations. On the 21st day of March, and again on the 21st day of September, the rising sun casts a spectacle upon the pyramid of Kukulkan. As dawn breaks, light and shadow weave together along the stairway, forming a chain of luminous and dark triangles. These shifting shapes are born from the pyramid's 9 terraces, and as the sun climbs higher, they appear to glide slowly downward, tracing the outline of a great serpent descending from the summit. When the sun reaches its peak, the vision fades into brilliance. For the Maya, this celestial performance carried profound meaning. It was said that the feathered serpent god, Kukulkan, once descended to earth and would one day return. The temple itself became a stone chronicle of that promise, encoding the legend of divine return within its geometry. To researchers such as Erich von Däniken, this alignment between architecture and astronomy represented more than artistry. It suggested knowledge of the heavens that challenged conventional explanations. His attention to such intricate details, often overlooked in traditional archaeology, inspired him to propose a daring idea: that ancient civilizations may have once been guided by beings from beyond our world. Seeking further evidence, von Däniken turned his gaze to another Mayan site, Palenque. In the mid-1950s, archaeologists uncovered the tomb of the ruler known as Lord Pakal. The sarcophagus was sealed with an elaborate carved lid portraying the king in an unusual posture. The figure bends forward within a confined space, his hands poised as if operating a set of controls. Lines and symbols surround him in a composition that some interpret as mechanical. To von Däniken, the image resembled a human figure seated within a spacecraft, ascending toward the cosmos. This interpretation became one of the most memorable ideas in his book, Chariots of the Gods, igniting fascination across the world. Yet modern archaeologists generally view the carving as a symbolic representation of the king's journey into the underworld, following the cycles of life, death, and rebirth that shaped Maya cosmology. Whether seen as mythic art or as evidence of ancient contact, the sarcophagus of Lord Pakal continues to embody the deep mystery at the crossroads of science, faith, and imagination. In the western valleys of Honduras stand the monumental ruins of Copan, one of the crown jewels of the ancient Maya world. Its temples, pyramids, and sculpted monuments remain among the most remarkable expressions of Maya achievement. Yet, for scholars seeking to understand the intellectual brilliance of this civilization, few structures have inspired more fascination than the 72-step masterpiece known as the hieroglyphic stairway. Built in the early 7th century of the Common Era, the stairway was conceived as a monumental chronicle, an open book of stone meant to preserve the history of Copan's rulers. Commissioned by the 13th king, it celebrated the lineage from Yaxcoch-Mo through generations of royal successors. Each of its 1,200 carved blocks bears Maya hieroglyphs, symbols that together form one of the most sophisticated writing systems ever developed in the ancient Americas. For centuries, these intricate glyphs defied interpretation. Their meanings were lost, their stories silent. Then, in the year 1880, the German librarian and anthropologist Ernst Fürstemann achieved a breakthrough. Working at the library in Dresden, he studied one of the few surviving Maya codices, the Dresden Codex, and through his deep understanding of mathematics and logic, began to unlock the patterns of the script. His insight laid the foundation for the modern decipherment of the Maya language. The Maya writing system combined two complementary elements. Some symbols were logographs, pictorial signs that represented entire words, such as the jaguar, written simply with the image of its head. Others were phonetic glyphs, representing sounds much like syllables in modern alphabets. Together, they created a system capable of expressing history, ritual, and poetry with remarkable nuance. On the hieroglyphic stairway, these glyphs trace not only the events of Copan's past, but also the sacred ancestry of its kings. Royal inscriptions emphasized genealogy, divine descent, and legitimacy of rule. One surviving sculpture of the 13th ruler, Waxaclajun Uba Kawil, portrays him in full ceremonial attire, while a side panel bears inscriptions proclaiming his connection to both his forebears and the gods themselves. Literacy was confined to the elite, yet for those few who could read, the carvings stood as living proof of royal authority and semi-divine power, a bridge between human and celestial realms. Some modern interpreters, however, view these connections through a different lens. Followers of the ancient astronaut hypothesis have suggested that the divine ancestry claimed by Maya kings might point to contact with beings from beyond Earth. According to this theory, early priesthoods arose from those interactions, their supposed communication with otherworldly visitors mistaken for divine revelation. While such ideas remain speculative and lie outside the consensus of modern archaeology, they reflect humanity's enduring effort to understand how ancient peoples perceived their gods, their origins, and their place beneath the stars. Across the Yucatan Peninsula in southern Mexico stretch rain-soaked jungles and fertile plains that for more than 2 millennia sheltered one of the most remarkable cultures of the ancient world, the Maya. Between the 3rd and the 9th century of the Common Era, their population may have reached between 15 and 20 million, spreading through regions that now include Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and Costa Rica. Archaeological discoveries reveal that the Maya developed complex written language systems, advanced mathematical techniques, and monumental architecture long before such knowledge appeared in much of Europe. While the Western world was emerging from its early medieval period, the Maya had already built towering observatories, mapped planetary paths, and calculated celestial events with astonishing precision. Their greatest legacy may have been their mastery of time itself. To the Maya, time was sacred, a living force that linked humanity to the gods and the cosmos. They observed the movements of the sun, the moon, and particularly the bright wanderer Venus, recording eclipses and tracking the long cycle known as precession, in which the rising of the stars gradually shifts across the centuries. Every 72 years, the Pleiades star cluster appeared one day earlier on the horizon, and after roughly 26,000 years, the pattern completed its vast celestial circle. From these observations emerged an intricate system of interlocking calendars, through which the Maya sought to understand the rhythm of creation and renewal. Their long count calendar spans 5,125 years, a vast cycle that, according to modern calculation, concluded on the 21st day of December in the year 2012. Scholars interpret this not as a prophecy of destruction, but as the symbolic closing of one world age and the birth of another, a cosmic reset in keeping with their belief that time flows in eternal patterns. Central to this vision was the sky itself. Maya astronomer priests identified a dark band at the heart of the Milky Way, what modern science recognizes as a dense region of interstellar dust and a supermassive black hole. To them, it was the Great Rift, the celestial womb from which all life was born. On the date corresponding to December 21st, 2012, Earth, the Sun, and this dark region aligned along a single galactic plane, a coincidence that occurs roughly once every 26,000 years, whether by chance or design. The alignment coincided with the end of the long count cycle. To the Maya, such correspondences were messages from the gods, signs of renewal and transformation. According to their traditions, the knowledge of the heavens was a sacred gift bestowed by divine beings who dwelled among the stars. In their view, wisdom, not material wealth, was the true treasure of the universe, and the act of measuring time was itself a dialogue between humanity and creation. 65 million years ago, a massive asteroid, estimated to be 8 miles wide, pierced Earth's atmosphere at a speed of nearly 12 miles per second. When it struck the region now known as the Yucatan Peninsula, the energy released equaled more than 100 million megatons of TNT. The collision reshaped the planet's surface and climate, marking the end of the age of dinosaurs and transforming the course of life on Earth. Scientists estimate that the impact excavated a crater over 100 miles in diameter and sent vast quantities of molten rock and vaporized dust high into the atmosphere. The sky darkened as fine debris encircled the planet, blocking sunlight for months, perhaps years. Photosynthetic life collapsed, plants withered, and with them, the herbivorous dinosaurs that depended upon them. In turn, the great predators followed. Within a few years to perhaps a decade, one of Earth's dominant lineages vanished almost entirely. Debate continues about how swiftly extinction unfolded, yet traces of the event remain in geological layers around the world. At the heart of the impact zone lies the Chicxulub crater, buried beneath the limestone plains of the Yucatan. Remarkably, Less than 90 miles from its center stands Chichen Itza, one of the grandest cities of the ancient Maya. For some, this coincidence stirs wonder. The same landscape that once witnessed the fall of an asteroid became, millions of years later, a place where the Maya believed they could commune with the heavens. Chichen Itza was regarded as a sacred meeting point between the human and the divine, a place where celestial order touched the earth. To some researchers, it seems poetic that the ground scarred by a cosmic impact would later host a civilization so deeply devoted to observing the skies. In Maya art and mythology, celestial descent and transformation were recurring themes. A few isolated carvings and murals from sites such as Bonampak depict creatures resembling ancient reptiles or flying beasts, imagery that some modern theorists have associated, controversially, with prehistoric life forms. Mainstream archaeology interprets these figures as stylized symbols or mythic animals rather than representations of real dinosaurs. Yet to others, they evoke a lingering question about how the Maya envisioned the ancient world and what knowledge they believed had been handed down from the stars. Whether viewed as coincidence or cosmic continuity, the Yucatan remains one of Earth's most mysterious crossroads, a place where a world once ended and, eons later, another civilization rose to read meaning in the heavens above the same scarred ground. Beneath the modern capital of Mexico City lie the buried foundations of an extraordinary past, the remains of Tenochtitlan, the grand metropolis of the Aztec Empire. From the 14th to the 16th century of the Common Era, the Aztecs ruled much of central Mexico, and their capital stood as one of the most advanced cities of the pre-Columbian world. Designed with an intricate network of canals, bridges, and ceremonial plazas, Tenochtitlan was a triumph of engineering and sacred design. Yet, according to Aztec chronicles, their civilization did not begin there. Their origin stories speak of a distant ancestral homeland called Chicamaztoc, the place of the 7 caves. Within those mythic chambers, 7 tribes were said to have emerged, each destined to found the nations of central Mexico. The Aztecs believed themselves descendants of one of these tribes, guided by divine forces toward the valley, where they would build their empire. For centuries, Chicamaztoc was thought to exist only in legend. But some modern archaeologists suggest that it may have a real-world counterpart in the ancient city of Teotihuacan, located roughly 30 miles northeast of Mexico City. Beneath the Great Pyramid of the Sun, one of the largest structures of the ancient world, lies a natural cave system branching into 7 chambers. The similarity between these caverns and the Aztec myth has led some researchers to propose that Teotihuacan could have inspired the ancestral memory preserved in their sacred texts. In the 16th century, the Spanish friar Jerónimo de Mendieta recorded stories told by the local peoples about their divine origins. His writings describe a vision of creation that began with a blinding descent from the heavens. A colossal blade of flint, shining like a fallen star, was said to strike the earth, shaking it to its core. From this celestial object emerged countless deities. Some accounts speak of more than 1,600, who fashioned humankind from bone, ash, and their own blood. In Aztec belief, these gods created humans not only in their likeness, but also to sustain and honor them through ritual and devotion. Such vivid imagery has inspired both theological and speculative interpretations. To the Aztecs, The descent of the gods symbolized the moment divine energy entered the human world. To modern ancient astronaut theorists, however, the tale hints at something far more literal. A memory of a craft descending from the sky, an encounter that blurred the boundary between mythology and possible extraterrestrial visitation. Whatever the truth behind the legend, Teotihuacan remains a marvel of ancient civilization. Spanning nearly 8 square miles, the city was already thriving by the 1st century of the Common Era, centuries before the rise of the Aztecs, and even predating the Maya by more than 100 years. At its height, Teotihuacan may have supported a population approaching 100,000 inhabitants, making it the largest city in the Western Hemisphere before the 15th century. With its colossal pyramids, wide avenues, and vast ceremonial complexes, it became both the commercial and spiritual heart of Mesoamerica. For archaeologists, Teotihuacan stands as the Rome of the Americas, a center of innovation, belief, and influence whose mysteries continue to challenge modern understanding. Whether its origins were purely human or touched by something beyond, its presence endures as a testament to humanity's timeless pursuit of the divine. Teotihuacan, in the heart of Mexico, became the blueprint for every Mesoamerican city-state that followed. Its monumental design was centered upon 2 immense pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, alongside a 3rd temple dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent deity. These sacred structures flanked a wide ceremonial avenue that modern archaeologists call the Avenue of the Dead. Along its length rise more than 200 platforms, temples, and shrines, while beyond its borders, thousands of residential quarters once housed the city's vast population. Despite its scale and sophistication, the true identity of Teotihuacan's founders remains unknown. Unlike other ancient cultures of the region, the city left behind no hieroglyphic inscriptions, no royal portraits, and no written record to tell its story. Archaeologists have unearthed abundant evidence of trade, craftsmanship, and urban planning, yet the civilization's origin continues to elude modern understanding. No smaller settlements or architectural precedents have been found that might explain how such a monumental city arose seemingly from nothing. The precision of its layout, its geometric symmetry and alignment with astronomical events, suggests knowledge far beyond what is typically attributed to early Mesoamerican societies. Teotihuacan's creators engineered an urban landscape guided by celestial principles, blending architecture, mathematics, and ritual purpose into one unified vision. The question of where this mastery originated remains one of the enduring puzzles of ancient history. In the year 2003, archaeologists made a discovery that deepened that mystery. Beneath the temple of the feathered serpent, 45 feet below the surface, ground-penetrating scanners revealed a hidden tunnel sealed for nearly 2 millennia. As researchers cleared the debris, robotic probes equipped with infrared cameras explored the passage, stretching some 250 feet into the earth. At its far end, the tunnel opened into a chamber lined with metallic-looking spheres. These strange orbs, made of clay and coated with gold-colored pyrite, glimmered in the darkness. The walls of the chamber also sparkled with golden flecks, creating the impression of a star-filled sky when illuminated by torchlight. Scholars believe the space may have served as a ceremonial chamber, a symbolic representation of the heavens where priests conducted sacred rites. Others have suggested that the orbs could have represented celestial bodies, an earthly model of the cosmos itself. Across Mesoamerica, astronomy shaped nearly every aspect of cultural and spiritual life. The Maya, who flourished centuries later, refined these celestial studies into an elaborate calendar system calibrated to the cycles of the planets. One of the surviving Maya manuscripts, known as the Dresden Codex, serves as an astronomical almanac. It records solar and lunar eclipses, the phases of Venus, and the intricate motion of Mars. Near its conclusion, an almanac divides time into 10 groups of 78 days, together forming 780 days, the precise synodic period of Mars, the time required for the red planet to return to the same position in the sky as viewed from Earth. In this text, celestial symbols and mythic imagery intertwine. A great sky band stretches across the page, adorned with hieroglyphs representing constellations, and from it descends a dragon-like being, the ancient symbol of Mars itself. Through works such as the Dresden Codex, it becomes clear that for the peoples of Mesoamerica, astronomy was not only science, but also sacred art, a dialogue between humanity and the universe, written in the language of stars and stone. Across Mesoamerica, the remnants of an extraordinary past remain. Colossal stone heads carved from volcanic rock, intricate figurines shaped like winged vessels, and sculptures whose features seem to echo distant civilizations half a world away. These enigmatic artifacts have long invited debate. While mainstream archaeology attributes them to the artistic expression and trade networks of ancient peoples, proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis suggest they preserve evidence of contact with beings from beyond the Earth. Centuries after these objects were created, the arrival of European conquistadors and the spread of the Catholic faith brought devastation to the Maya and many other indigenous cultures. In their effort to replace local beliefs, missionaries destroyed temples, codices, and sacred texts, erasing much of the written knowledge that might have illuminated these mysteries. According to some theorists, this destruction concealed more than theology. It silenced accounts that may have challenged the official world view of the time. What seems certain is that the ancient civilizations of the Americas possessed an astonishing command of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering, knowledge that appeared far in advance of what their era should have allowed. In their surviving traditions, the Maya and others consistently attributed this wisdom to their gods, describing it as a gift brought down from the heavens. Those who support the extraterrestrial interpretation argue that, had undeniable evidence of intercontinental exchange or non-human visitation been found, it would have threatened the authority of religious and political powers shaped by the Inquisition's rigid doctrines. Within this speculative framework, the question then turns to what became of the mysterious benefactors who, according to legend, once descended from the skies. One school of thought proposes that conflict, environmental disaster, and social collapse eventually ended humanity's direct contact with these advanced beings. The stories tell that the sky ships no longer appeared, and the luminous deities withdrew their knowledge, leaving humankind to continue on its own. In this narrative, their departure was not abandonment, but observation, an experiment left to unfold. The seeds of civilization had been planted, and humanity, now awakened, was left to determine its own destiny. beneath the same stars that once inspired its myths. For those who study the possibility of ancient contact, the search for evidence continues. Many believe that the ultimate proof of extraterrestrial visitation still lies hidden beneath layers of earth and centuries of silence. Yet with each passing year, new discoveries bring pieces of the puzzle into the light. Between February of the year 2018 and March of the year 2019, archaeologists working across Mexico uncovered a series of remarkable findings. Within the ruins of Teotihuacan, long associated with the Aztecs, researchers unearthed artifacts unmistakably Mayan in design, suggesting cultural ties far deeper than once believed. At Chichen Itza, 200 additional relics were found inside a hidden cavern sealed for centuries beneath the sacred city. And deep within the jungle surrounding Lake Pátzcuaro, advanced LiDAR scanning revealed the outlines of an immense ancient metropolis, sprawling across an area comparable in size to modern Manhattan. Such revelations mark a turning point in the study of ancient civilizations. Technologies once imagined in speculative fiction have become reality. From orbit, satellites now pierce through jungle canopies and soil, exposing what has long been concealed. Beneath dense vegetation and shifting ground, entire forgotten cities are emerging, evidence of how much of humanity's story still remains untold. Archaeologists describe this as the beginning of a new era of exploration, one that may eventually uncover thousands of undiscovered sites across Mesoamerica and beyond. Each fragment, each monument, and each artifact brings the greater picture into sharper focus. When enough pieces of this grand mosaic are assembled, the image of our collective past will finally begin to take shape. To believers in the ancient astronaut hypothesis, these discoveries represent more than archaeology. They suggest a coming revelation. They foresee a time when the material record of Earth's civilizations will reveal patterns that confirm a deeper, cosmic influence in humanity's rise. Whether or not that proof will ever be found remains unknown. But beneath the ruins of Mexico's ancient temples, buried in chambers untouched for millennia, the silent stones still guard their secrets, waiting for the moment when the light of discovery reaches them once again. Teotihuacan, Mexico, an ancient city that rose during the 1st century of the Common Era, and at its height became the largest metropolis in Mesoamerica, with a population estimated at 125,000. At its heart stands one of the civilization's most sacred monuments, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, a vast stepped pyramid dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the god of creation and light. The origins of this deity reach back even earlier, to the time of the Olmec civilization in the pre-classical era. Yet, it was at Teotihuacan that the feathered serpent assumed a central identity, embodied in stone as a divine teacher and bringer of wisdom. Quetzalcoatl was revered as the creator god who bestowed civilization upon humankind, patron of knowledge, rain, fertility, and the planet Venus. He was said to have come from across the eastern sea upon a raft of serpents, to have lived among mortals, and to have departed with the promise to return. Centuries later, the same god would appear in the culture of the Maya, under a different name, but with the same celestial symbolism. In the city of Chichen Itza, 900 miles east of Teotihuacan, he became known as Kukulkan, the holy feathered serpent. The pyramid raised in his honor stands as one of the finest examples of astronomical and architectural harmony in the ancient world. Each year, during the equinoxes of March and September, Sunlight and shadow form a luminous serpent that glides down the staircase of the pyramid, connecting heaven to earth in a visual manifestation of the god's descent. To the Maya, this was a sacred event, the return of the divine teacher who once brought knowledge to humankind. To some modern theorists, it represents more than symbolism, a possible recollection of a celestial craft descending from the skies, immortalized in stone through light and shadow. Within this interpretation, the pyramid may have been designed not merely as a temple, but as a monument commemorating a moment of contact between the earth and another world. Far across the ocean, in the mountains of Greece, a strikingly similar tradition endures. On the island of Euboea, 25 megalithic stone structures stand in silence, known to the locals as Dracospida, the dragon houses. The most imposing of these rises atop Mount Ochi, nearly 5,000 feet above sea level. Legends tell that the god Zeus descended upon this mountain from the heavens, and that the dragon houses were built by a powerful being to honor his arrival. In the language of ancient Greece, the word draken referred not only to serpentine creatures, but also to divine or semi-divine beings, figures of immense strength and knowledge. The dragon houses, therefore, were believed to mark a place where heaven and earth converged, a sanctuary for celestial visitors. The structure atop Mount Ochi is built from immense limestone blocks, some weighing up to 10 tons, with roof slabs measuring more than 10 feet in length. How these massive stones were transported and assembled at such an altitude remains an unresolved question in archaeology. While mainstream scholars regard the dragon houses as sanctuaries or watchtowers built by early Greek stonemasons, advocates of the ancient astronaut hypothesis view them differently. To them, these mountaintop chambers were landing sites, places where luminous beings, described in ancient myth as gods or dragons, once descended. Within this speculative vision, the serpent, the dragon, and the god of wisdom may all share a single origin, memories of otherworldly visitors whose legacy was carved into the mountains and temples of our earliest civilizations.